You're listening to the Toolstation Western League podcast with Ian Knockholds and Tom Hiscott.
Welcome, listeners, to episode 9 of the Toolstation Western League podcast with me, Ian Knockholds, and I am delighted to be joined on the line by the editor of the Bulletin. It is Tom Hiscott. Hello, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks. Yourself?
I'm okay. Did you get to any of the any games over the weekend?
No, I was on rugby duty on Saturday afternoon, so I didn't manage to get to any football this weekend, unfortunately. How about yourself?
I spent a very enjoyable family weekend with my wife and our lovely children and our nearest and dearest, because it was my wife's birthday. These are the sacrifices that, of course, football fans have to make. Not that I regret it for a minute, listeners. I had a lovely time. I did, in fairness, have my football fix earlier in the week. I was able to take in the rearranged fixture between Devizes Town and Welton Rovers. I'm very pleased to report that the lights stayed firmly on this occasion. So 90 minutes was had, albeit that wasn't particularly to the pleasure of the hometown, of the home team, because, of course, had the game finished after 89 minutes, Devizes would have won 2-0. As it was a 2-2 draw. Just going to show that sides really do need to be paying attention right up to the very last minute. Maybe Welton Rovers will make a habit of this, snatching a draw out of the jaws of defeat. Maybe we should start calling it Jared Greenhall time. Who could say? But was it one for the purist? Probably was. Really, on reflection, I thought Devizes were sort of going to run away with things after, they went 2-0 up. But Welton kept on plugging away, and they got their reward for it. So, an enjoyable evening out I had with my father. I must say, I took him to the game, and it's his first time at the Wembley of Warwickshire, and he certainly had a good time. Our games this week don't start on Tuesday the 1st of October, but they do start on Friday the 4th of October, because we've got a ground hop to talk about, Tom, and the opening fixture in this season's ground hop was Lebec United, of course, a new side to the Toolstation Western League, and they took on the Miners, Radstock Town.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see the new side getting involved with the ground hop straight away, and being the first side this year to host a game, and it was a big crowd, of course, 192 down there on Friday night, and it was a home win, so plenty to cheer on at Oaklands Park. A 3-1 victory for Lebec over Radstock. Obviously a big win last weekend for Lebec as well, and they went ahead in the 9th minute in this one thanks to a penalty from Cameron Brown. Kurt James then doubled their advantage before Radstock pulled a goal back from the spot themselves. James Rustle, that's the leading scorers this season. He got on the score sheet for Radstock. But then Twain Plummer restored Lebec's 2-goal advantage early in the second half, and they held on despite losing a man to a red card on the hour mark. So a good win for Lebec.
Now we move on to Saturday the 5th of October, and before we turn our attentions again to the ground hop weekend, we should pay homage to the small matter of the FA Cup third qualifying round. Of course, it was our one and only sole surviving representative club in that competition, Tavistock. They were travelling away to Welling United. 491 saw this game, but unfortunately the Western League's journey, Tavistock's journey in the FA Cup, Tom, has sadly come to an end. Yeah,
unfortunately so. Just one step too far. A 4-1 defeat for them away at Welling. Bradley Goldberg scoring a hat-trick for Welling. He's, I know from following Bath City a little bit, that he's among the leading scorers in that non-league South. Has been for a couple of years now. He's a pretty prolific front man, so it's not too much of a surprise that he was among the goals on Saturday afternoon. I think he had a hat-trick before half-time, but fantastic effort from Tavistock to reach this stage, and I'm sure they'll be hoping to take some of their league their cup form into the league this season, and mount a promotion chase.
Yeah, they're certainly my team to watch. I think I've been really impressed by the way that they've gone in the cup competitions, and they're obviously a very good outfit. They haven't played that many league games because of their cup form, so it'll be very interesting to see how they make up for that back in the Western League competition. Anyway, moving into the Premier Division, and we kick off with our next ground hop game. It was Bradford Town. They were at home to Clevedon Town, and of course Clevedon have been on a very kind of form over the month of September, but it came to a bit of a shuddering halt in the month of October.
Yeah, they've had a tough week, haven't they? I think they suffered a pretty heavy defeat in midweek, and then not the easiest of fixtures to try and rebound from away at Bradford, who picked up their 7th league win of the season, a 2-0 victory over Clevedon. Another pretty impressive crowd, 228 there, and it was goals in either half from Tyson Pollard firing Bradford to the 2-0 victory.
Now, I know you're a man who likes goals, Tom, and there's plenty of them in this next game. More goals than in any other game in the Premier Division on Saturday. It was Brislington against Chipping Sodbury Town.
Yeah, indeed, a brilliant game. Chipping Sodbury eventually prevailing by 4-3. They led 3-1 at the break, thanks to goals from Luke Berman, Justin Bishop and Miles Gibson. But then Brislington managed to fight back. A couple of goals from Danny Barwood. I think he got sent off for midweek, so a good response from him. Managed to get Brislington back on level terms. But the Sods did push on, and they've had a bit of a winless run. It's stretched back quite a while, so this will be an excellent 3 points for them. And a 4-3 win away at Brislington, and a thoroughly entertaining game there.
Now, Shepton Mallet are a side that we've been bigging up a lot on the podcast so far this season. They've got off to an excellent start. They've put together a really good side, and they look like they're going to be very competitive this season. But, they came off the rails somewhat against what is proving to be a very formidable Roman Glass St George side. Yeah,
from what I've heard, this was not too much of a it wasn't a snatch and grab or anything like that. Roman Glass St George definitely held their own, and probably deserved the victory. Both goals coming in the second half, 2-0 win, and it was Troy Simpson and then Josh Morgan-Williams wrapping up the victory. So pretty good win. I think it was just their second league win of the campaign, but Roman Glass showing signs of as you say, a strong outfit, and a 2-0 win over Shepton's definitely not to be sniffed at.
And our last game in the Premier Division on Saturday the 5th of October was Westbury United against high-flying Bitton.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bitton come unstuck in this one. A 2-1 win for Westbury, their third win on the spin. It's an excellent run for them, little run to start October. Ryan Bowl putting the home side ahead with a curled free kick, with Steve Holbert then providing a cross for Matt Jones to volley home their second just towards the end of the first half, giving them a 2-goal advantage at the break. There was a deflected effort from Mitch Tippins during the second half for Bitton, but usually pretty reliable in front of goal. They only managed one on Saturday afternoon, and it was Westbury who ran out 2-1 victors.
Well, of course, if I'm not at Devizes on a Saturday afternoon, there's a pretty good chance I might be at Westbury. Westbury joint manager Neil Kirkpatrick is a regular on the podcast, and of course he's a fellow Pompey fan. So why wouldn't I want to get him back on again? Well, that win against Bitton was all the excuse I needed. Now, Westbury, as we've just heard from Tom, have made a pretty good fist of things at the start of this season. Not quite as good as they managed at the beginning of last season, but still not bad. They're 4th in the table. So I started by asking Neil, was he happy with that start to the season?
Yes, in terms of where we were a couple of weeks ago, definitely got to be very pleased, and particularly picking up points against Roman Glass and Bitton, who are two very, very good sides. I think our sort of turning point was we took a bit of a hiding against Shepton Mallet a couple of weeks ago, and we had a good long chat with the players, looked at a lot of things, worked very hard in the training session on certain aspects, and that's really, credit to the players. It's paid dividends in the last 2 games.
So that win at the weekend against Bitton, now they've had a little bit of a wobble, but by their standards over the last couple of weeks, but still that's a very pleasing result. Were you happy with the performance?
Oh, massively. I mean, I know they were missing Scott Bryce and Dean Griffiths up top, but they get a certain fellow, Kareem Randall, just steps in up front for them, who's an absolute handful, and they're a very, very, very good side. And we had to, from 1 to 14, work their socks off, to get the points. I mean, we were 2 up at half time. and they came at us the second half, and we, backs to the wall, and all right, we could have pinched a couple on the break, but yeah, we had to, as I say, earn it. Those points were very, very well earned.
You did so well at the start of last season. In fairness, looking back on last season, you did very well throughout it, but particularly the start. Do you think that raised people's expectations as to where you could finish this time around?
Possibly. I think the better level of football you go, people try and work you out, or do work you out. And after Christmas last year, I think probably sides took us more seriously than perhaps they had in the first half of the season, having just come up from the first division. They certainly, seem to this season again giving us, I suppose, a bit more respect that we are a good side. But this, I've heard several other managers say this division this season is so tough. I think every side has recruited well and improved their squads. There's no freebies in it at all.
So what has that done to your own expectations? Where do you want the team to finish this season?
Well, we look at every game you want to win, don't you? And that will never change as long as I'm involved in football. I feel we can be competitive in every game, but I don't know. It's so tough. I mean, Parkway seem to be putting everybody to the sword at the minute. Bitton, as I said, we've played tough. They are a very, very good side, and they'll be up there. Obviously, we haven't played Exmouth yet, and they've started exceptionally well. Bridgewater, I think, have recruited superbly, and they'll be up there. So, there's 4 or 5 teams already, and if you're inconsistent, you could be middle or lower half of the table. So it's a boring cliche, but we'll just go about our business and take it one week at a time, I think, and hopefully we can have a good run in a couple of cup competitions and finish as high as we possibly can.
Now, I remember the last time I spoke to you early in last season, you told me that the pre-season had been a bit of a nightmare for you for one reason or another, that the Wolves had been circling around your squad. Did you have a quieter pre-season this time around?
It was certainly a little bit easier in that respect. The biggest problem was availability, as every other manager tells you, with holidays and weddings and stag weekends and you name it, players were away. But and that carried on into the first few games of the season. So, but no, it was a lot less stressful. We got players signed early. Obviously we did lose a couple with Callum Demkiv and Ian Jeffers going to Melksham. But then we've recruited well. Ryan Boll coming in and from Devizes, and Sammy Jordan from Bolton Rovers. So, we felt we've recruited really well, and obviously Callum's just come back, which is a nice bonus for us as well. So, we're pretty much maintaining the same squad. Again, we've had Matt Jones at centre half, who probably didn't play any football really last season. He's been back in for the last, I think it's probably 4 games, and again that's made a huge difference to us as well in the spine of the side. We've got a settled squad working with them at training. It just makes everything better, and we can be more organised, because you've got to be, because every other side is, and we just know we've got to be right on our game every week.
Well, you've got 3 games in 10 days coming up. That starts with the match against Royal Wootton Bassett in the County Cup competition, followed by Saturday's match against Badshot Lee in the Vars, and then the small matter of a trip to Tavistock in the league. That's the Saturday after next, so it's going to be an exciting time for you and the fans.
Yeah, and then straight after Tavistock we have Bridgewater on the Wednesday, followed by a trip to Plymouth on that Saturday. So
I didn't want to depress you.
Yeah. But again, we know we've got to play well in every game. As I say, we've got 18, 19 lads. They will all get plenty of game time, which is nobody likes sitting on the bench. They all want to play, but we will have to shuffle the pack over the next couple of weeks, because Saturday, Wednesday is, it will catch up, players will get niggles. And we had it with Roman Glass last Wednesday. I mean, there's no way they will finish where they are at the minute. If they keep that side together, they'll finish in the top 8, no doubt about it. They will score a hatful of goals. And the lads are out on their feet after that game, and then to obviously go again against Bitton 2 days later, 3 days later. And again, they had to work their socks off for the 90 minutes. So it will be about 18, 19 players over the coming weeks, without a doubt.
I mean, it is mouth-watering, the matches that you have in the Western League, and I think what you've said about the...
That's not a word I would have used.
Well, I mean, from the fans...
No, it is.
And of course, the fact of the momentum, as you know from last season, is a funny thing in football, isn't it?
Oh,
if you keep winning and you keep the winning habit, even if you're winning ugly, that not only could it have a big say on your season, but it could, of course, affect what the top of the table looks like in the Premier Division. That's all very exciting stuff, but perhaps nowhere near as exciting as the challenge on Saturday against Badshot Lee in the Vase. You mentioned you want to do well in the cup competitions. So how much do you know about Badshot before that game?
Not a great deal. Obviously, they're combined counties league. Although they're mid-table, they've got games in hand, which if they win, they'll be right up at the top end. So, we'll prepare for another tough game, really. As I say, know very little about them. It's a little bit easier when we play some of the Wessex sides because of various contacts and what have you. It's easier to get information on, but we're trying to find out a little bit more. But to be honest with you, it's since the Shepton game. Sorry, I said 2 games. It's the 3 games we've had since Shepton. It's really just been all about us, not the opposition. Get ourselves right, and we'll compete, and we'll give anybody a game. So that'll be our main focus. Is just make sure that we're right, and if we're right, if we get beaten, then you hold your hands up to them and say well done.
And of course, there are those league matches as well that are going to, I'm sure, take the attention. But as far as Saturday is concerned, we've just had the Groundhop, of course. I know Westbury weren't one of the featured sides in that competition, but we've got non-league day coming up, and hopefully the nationwide publicity around that particular event will encourage a few more punters out who perhaps haven't been to see their local grassroots side. What have you got planned for Saturday? Obviously, it's a big game anyway with Badshot, but have you been able to sort of embrace non-league day?
Yeah, there's the local paper White Horse News are putting an article in that was prepared for us. And we have our charity partner, which is Hope for Tomorrow, are hopefully bringing a mobile cancer care unit, but the timescale might be a bit tight for that. But if not, they'll be having banners and handing out flyers and things like that. So, and then we've also got the Westbury United Youth. One of the youth teams is providing mascots for the day. So, hopefully a few people that wouldn't normally come and watch us can come along and hopefully enjoy it and come back again.
Well, certainly a big crowd and a good atmosphere, I'm sure, will help you and your side in that competition. And perhaps if people enjoy what they see on Saturday, particularly if it's a winning performance, they might be encouraged to come down and cheer you on throughout that competition.
Definitely, yeah. As I say, there's an awful lot going on behind the scenes at the club in terms of tidying the old place up. Investment in the pitch. It was quite nice to overhear. There was a few of the Bitton lads were there early, and they stood around chatting, and heard a couple of them say, "Wow, this place has smartened up a bit. It's the pitch is looking good." And as I say, we've got a gang of workers who go out there every Wednesday, and they've put in so much time and effort that hopefully we can reward them with our performances on the pitch as well.
And my thanks to Neil for his time. Now, moving on to the First Division matches, and again, we're still on Saturday, the 5th of October here, and our opening match is, high-flying Cheddar. They were at home to Hengrove. For a long time, Hengrove couldn't buy a win in this league. That wasn't the case on Saturday, was it, Tom?
No, absolutely. I suppose if you call Cheddar high-flying, I think Hengrove would have had to be low-flying coming into this one. But, a 1-0 win And they're among the form teams in the division at the moment. Really good run of results. And this, well, I don't think many would have picked it if you were predicting on Friday night. A 1-0 win for Hengrove away at Cheddar. Pretty late goal, Regan Burton, that handed them all 3 points, and they continue to move up the table. And unfortunately for Cheddar, they come unstuck again. A couple of sticky results for them of late, but Hengrove running out 1-0 winners.
Now, our next feature game is another one of the ground hop games. It was Portishead against Longwell Green Sports. And if you thought Brislington against Chipping Sodbury was golds galore, well, you should have been at Portishead. 8 goals this time, Tom. And, another bumper crowd to match.
Yeah, I'm not sure where to start with this one. It was a 8-goal thriller. 262 there, so brilliant ground hop crowd. But there was only 1 goal in the first half, so it was very much doesn't matter if people maybe were a bit late there from another fixture, but just 1 goal. Danny Carter firing home a spot kick to put Longwell Green ahead. Mitch Osmond then responding with a penalty of their own for Portishead early in the second half to make it 1-1. With Carter and then probably my favourite name, my new favourite name, Lovejoy Maffini, adding a third for Longwell Green. Yeah, absolutely fantastic, belting name, isn't it?
What do you think? I mean, is he an antiques dealer with that sort of name?
I would hope there's something of that sort going on with him. If not, hopefully he's a prolific goal scorer, and we get to read his name out every Saturday. That'd be excellent. So he put them 3-1 up. Osmond then responded with another spot kick for Portishead. But it was Longwell Green who managed to push on. Goals from Sam Crubb and Connor Britton in the final quarter, helping them to get the 5-goal tally. Portishead pulling one back from Callum Eastwood, but they fell short. But brilliant game for the ground hoppers, and a brilliant result for Longwell Green in the grand scheme of things. A 5-3 victory away at Portishead.
It's fascinating, isn't it, to see that there really is something in the water when it comes to away sides doing well in the ground hop.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it possibly is the size of the crowds, and there was no bigger crowd over the entire ground hop than between Warminster Town and Bristol Telephones. Now, big crowds aren't unheard of at Warminster. We've highlighted it on many occasions on the podcast. Roland Millwall does a fantastic job of driving interest in Warminster, not just the football club, but in the town, gets a lot of people interested in the game. So it's hardly surprising that really the 3-figure attendance, as Tom, I'm sure, will tell you shortly, was nearly 100. Well, was more than 100 higher than in any other ground hop games. Hardly surprising because Warminster, as we know, have their own following. Warminster, of course, a side that I thought would do well before the season started. They came up against a side that had not won yet this season. They'd got 1 point in the last match that they'd played at home, and that was against Devizes Town, who aren't really setting the world alight themselves. So really, there was only ever going to be one winner here, Tom, wasn't there?
That's what you'd have thought, but as you say, the away side seemed to be very much up for this weekend in the ground hop, and another of our ground hop hosts unfortunately came unstuck. A 3-2 win for Bristol Telephones at Warminster, as you say, their first 3 points of the campaign. Luke Bamfield firing them ahead, but then Warminster did turn it round. 2 goals at the end of the first half from Jack Millick and then James Vincent putting Warminster ahead. But I think this was the Saturday night fixture, so long into the night. But it was Bristol Telephones who fought back. Darnie Golding, he's probably their star man in front of goal, especially managed to level things up 3 minutes into the second half, and then Bamfield managed to score a second to secure a much needed victory for the away side. So 3-2, Bristol Telephones ran out winners away at Warminster.
They certainly did. Now, Bristol Telephones, we haven't heard a lot of them from the last couple of seasons, but I'm very pleased to report that we do have an interview with them on this week's edition of the podcast, and it is with Jack Richardson. Jack is the first team coach at Bristol Telephones, and I started off my conversation with him congratulating him on that win at Warminster Town.
Yeah, really happy to be talking to you, and absolutely delighted with Saturday. It's been really good for the lads to get kind of 3 points on board. Everyone's been really happy the last few days, so it was a brilliant night Saturday night, so hopefully the first of many.
It was a ground hop game on Saturday, so you had a massive crowd. I think it was certainly the biggest of the day, and it was a late kick-off as well, wasn't it? It was 7:45. So did that make any difference for your team, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a weird day, to be honest. Like for me, in terms of like preparation, like obviously normally Saturday kind of Me and Sean are normally up at the club by like 11 o'clock if we're at home. I kind of had to go shopping in a day, do things like that, and then go out to football late. It felt a bit strange, but it was a really good atmosphere out there. Like you said, there was I think it was like 369 in attendance. It kind of made for a really good game, and I think our lads really stepped up to the challenge of that, because obviously a lot of them probably haven't played in a situation like that in a night game and with a crowd that size. So it was really good to see everyone kind of come out and put in a performance like that.
Now, Warminster were one of the fancied sides, certainly at the beginning of the season. It's been a bit of a stuttering start to their campaign. I mean, what did you make of them, particularly at home?
It was difficult. It was difficult to say, really. I thought they were dangerous in the first kind of 45 minutes. I said to Sean on the side, I think they had a really, really quick lad up front. I think he was the lad that ended up getting sent off. So I did say, and we said to our back four a couple of times, you might have to drop off because they were getting in behind a couple of times. But I still felt, even in that, I think we were at our strongest in that first 45 minutes, to be honest. We created 4 or 5 opportunities to score, and we only got one. And to be fair, you can tell they were a good side because in the first half they had 3 or 4 chances and they scored 2 goals. So it shows their quality up the top and they can put the ball in the back of the net. I mean, the second half, it was a difficult one for them, obviously going down to 10 men. It's always difficult when you lose a man anyway. And to be fair, they come out and attacked us. I wasn't really expecting it. They were 2-1 down. I thought they might have tried to kind of sit in and soak it up. And then obviously we scored 2 goals within, I think it was 15 minutes anyway. So they had to come and have a go at us then. But even before that, they were still having a go at us. So that was a challenging game, and they were a tough side, definitely.
Well, you got the 3 points in the end, and that goes with the first point of the season that you picked up in your last league game. That was against Devizes at the end of September. I mean, in fairness, it's not been an easy start to this season, but do you think with the last 2 results that you can push on from here?
Yeah, 100%. I think we've all been saying in house, definitely. I mean, the Devizes game was a bit of a turning point. Obviously, it was the first half was a little bit of a stalemate. Not much was going on really, and it was 0-0 at half time. And then within 3 minutes of the second half, we were 1-0 down and down to 10 men. So that was a challenge, and to be honest, I think it took something like that for our lads to really get going. They were put in an awkward situation, and they ended up coming back, going 3-2 up, and sadly losing it. I think it was the 93rd minute. Devizes got the equaliser, so it would have been good if we could have held on there. But obviously, under the circumstances, I think we were happy with a point. But like you said, it has been a tough start to the season. We've come up against some good sides. I think, from our opinion, we haven't really been battered in any games, maybe apart from the Hengrove one in the Cup where we lost 5-1. But apart from the rest of it, we've always competed in games and it's always been quite close. And I think from our point of view, we felt if we could get a result somewhere, the lads' kind of mentality might change and they might start to have a little bit more belief and a bit of confidence in them. And I think that showed Saturday. Obviously, we got reported Devizes, like we said. I've seen a different side to a lot of the players. I've seen a really good kind of fight from all of them, a good work ethic, which I haven't seen from a few of them. And it was really good that we carried it on into Saturday because, I mean, it was another tough situation Saturday. We were 2-1 down at half-time where we should have been leading the game. And I said to the boys, show me the fight you showed at Devizes and you'll get the 3 points. And they did that, and like you said, we got the 3 points.
So going into this season, how optimistic were you about how well the side would do?
I mean, it's always tough. Like, obviously, when I come in, I wasn't, obviously, being brutally honest, I wasn't too familiar with, obviously, I'd seen their results last year and I'd seen a little bit, but I was told that it'd be a different group this year, and it has been a different group. There's only a couple of lads still around from last year. And I kind of was always, I think you've always got to be optimistic, otherwise there's no point going in anywhere. I think a lot of players come back this season who have kind of gone off and then come back. And after the first couple of training sessions, I was optimistic that I believe we won't be down there come the end of the season because we got a really talented group. And I think it just kind of took a little bit of, like I said earlier, a bit of confidence, a bit of belief. I think some of them kind of were still in the mindset of last season, the ones that were there and the ones that have seen the results last season. We're still in kind of that frame of mind, and we just needed to. Our biggest challenge really was to get them out of that frame of mind. Hopefully, like I said, we turn the corner now, and I'm still optimistic that we can kind of kick on from this result, and we won't be kind of near the bottom towards the end of the season anyway.
So you've mentioned that there's quite a few new faces in the squad this season. For the fans, which players in particular, which new signings have you got that you think are worth watching out for this season?
We've got a young lad who scored 2 of our goals on Saturday, Luke Banfield. He's on loan from Keynsham at the moment. He had a really good game Saturday. I think he's a really good player and one to watch out in the future. We signed Alex O'Neill, who's in a similar boat to Luke, coming from Keynsham. He's a really good, talented young player. We've got George White, who's a centre-half, who come with me, who's a good player, and I always felt George just needed kind of an opportunity to play at this level, and I think he's played every minute of every game so far this season, so he's doing really well. We've just re-signed Aaron Greatbanks in goal, who's doing well. And obviously I think Danny Golding come back, the striker, who went away at the end of, I think he wasn't playing last season, he's come back this season and he's just started to hit a bit of form. I think he's got 4 goals in his last 3 games. So I think it's really key that we get him firing again. And also in Saturday's squad we had 2 lads that we brought in from Chippenham under 23s I think it is, and there was a left back playing Ash. He's only 16, but he had a really good game Saturday, and we had a young Joel in the middle as well. So we've got loads of talented players, and we've luckily we've got a really big pool of players to pick from every week. So it gives me and Sean a headache every week. Loads of new guys and loads of talented guys as well.
Excellent, a nice problem to have, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Now your next match is against Almondsbury. That's at home this weekend, and a win against them could lift you off the bottom of the table.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I said that to the lads right then on Saturday when I kind of debriefed them after the game. I think the thing is the league's so tight at the minute. We're still really early into the season. I don't think we were taking too much notice of the table. Obviously, for us, it was just about picking up points and getting them quick. But yeah, there's this extra motivation on the game for the lads Saturday to know that if we do get a win, we might be lifted off the bottom, which would be brilliant. Because like I said, we don't want to be down there. So yeah, it's a really good chance for our lads to kind of carry this on as well Saturday. Because obviously the last 2 games have been good. We're unbeaten in 2. There's a bit of not an expectation, but there is in a way to carry that on now and kind of for the lads to kick on and prove that the 2 results previous weren't just a fluke, that we can perform like that every week.
Well, belief is going to be a commodity that's going to be pretty important to you, because after that Almondsbury game, you take on 3 of the top 6 in succession: Wincanton, Ashton and Backwell, and Cairn, of course, the league leaders. I mean, do you see those matches as an opportunity for your side to show how good they really are, or does that look a pretty daunting run of fixtures for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think all games in this league are very tough. But saying that, the results at the moment that we're looking at week in, week out are proving that teams near the bottom can beat teams near the top. I mean, I think Hengrove beat Cheddar, didn't they, 1-0 Saturday? So it can happen. We've got to use results like that to say that they've gone and do it. Now it's our turn to go and do it. I think, like I said, on your day, I think you can beat anyone in your league. And we've just got to make sure that, especially if we get a win Saturday, we should be flying into those games. And anything can happen if you're on a good run of form. And like I said, all your players are believing that they can do it. So yeah, I wouldn't have said they're daunting for us. We kind of relish the challenge and are looking forward to those games.
Now, just before we let you go, Jack, this is the first time that we've had you on the podcast. Of course, you are the first team coach at Bristol Telephones. Can you tell us a little bit about your footballing background and what's led you to get involved with Bristol Telephones?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been managing for the last 6 seasons now. I'm only 22, so I started managing when I was like 16, like fresh out of kind of school and into college. I had to stop playing football when I was about 13 because I got ill when I was in school. So yeah, I wasn't allowed to play anymore. So I went just kind of, after I wasn't allowed to play, I kind of looked around and I wanted to get straight to coaching. Left school, got involved with kind of my mate's team coaching that, and then kind of one thing led to another, and I just kept following that kind of pathway. I ended up at Kingswood in the Gloucester County League a couple of seasons ago, which was a really good really good test for me going out there. It was my kind of first job when I went in on my own, not knowing anyone, and I really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of trouble, not trouble off the scenes, but they had to fold one team just due to numbers, which was a shame. So I ended up leaving there, and I went to Rockleys for the back end of last season. And then in the summer I kind of was looking around at kind of my next move. I said to Rockleys I wanted to kind of have a look what might be out there for me. And I kind of got in touch with telephones and just said, look, this is what I could potentially do for you if you'd be interested. We met up and we kind of went from there. Really, it's been really good since I've got in there. Really welcoming. Everyone's on the same page, wanting the same thing, working towards the same goal, which is just to get the club out of kind of the situation they were in last year. And like I said, I'm confident we can do that. We've got a really good group of players, really good management team, really good people off the pitch as well. So everything's there for the club now to keep going and have more nights like Saturday night, hopefully, in the future.
And my thanks to Jack for his time. Now, just before we move on to the ground hop on Sunday, just picking up on one of the themes that Jack mentioned in that interview, I've personally, I'm an embodiment of this in many respects, that I'm a great believer that for people who love the game of football, there are many roles that we can get involved with to keep us as an active part of the game. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to play the game or manage or officiate. There's lots of other very, very important functions that you can take up in administration and publicity as well. So I was really quite struck with the conversation that I had with Jack earlier from that interview, that his story shows that from an early age, even though you haven't had the opportunity to perhaps play the game, as I'm sure Jack wanted to, he has found a pathway into coaching, which has led him to a very active involvement with Bristol Telephones. And of course, you've heard just how satisfied and really fired up he is about this season. So I think that's a really good lesson for anybody who is listening to this and thinks, actually, maybe I would really like to do a little bit more than watch the game that I love on a Saturday afternoon and get involved, because there's plenty of voluntary positions that I'm sure clubs, the length and breadth of the Western League, would dearly love people to participate in. Anyway, before we wrap up our review of this week's fixtures, we will take a look at one more of our ground hop games. There were two fixtures on Sunday, the 6th of October. Again, it won't surprise you that the away sides did rather well. Exmouth beat Wellington in our later kick-off, but earlier in the day, Bridport, of course, just had a change of manager, took on high-flying Bridgewater Town.
Yeah, and Bridgewater, one of those sides that if they get on a roll, they can certainly rack up the goals, and that was very much the case on Sunday. A 6-0 victory away at Bridport. Mike Duffy scoring before half-time with a good lobbed finish. There was a couple of goals in the final 10 minutes from Sam Towler to wrap things up. But the star of the show, David O'Hare, grabbing a hat-trick, and Bridgewater rolling to another big winner, 6-0 victory away at Bridport.
Tom, thank you very much for that. We now turn our attentions to the up-and-coming fixtures. We're not going to worry too much about the midweek fixtures. We've got plenty of County Cup action, both in Wiltshire and in Somerset, and good luck to all of our member sides who are playing in those games. But we're really going to focus our attention on the fixtures starting on Saturday, the 12th of October. What's important about that, listeners? It's non-league day. It's the day traditionally that falls on on an international break, when the non-league tries to take a focus away from professional football, and supporters who would otherwise be going perhaps to watch sides in the Premier League or the English Football League come and watch, or encouraged to watch non-league football. So we hope that, like the ground hop and many of the attendances that we've been talking about on this week's edition of the podcast, we hope that our sides get another bumper attendance of interest from people across the country who are interested in watching grassroots football. And what better way to kick us off? We've got the FA Vars first round. Which side has tickled your fancy in that competition, Tom?
I've gone for I think it's the only all Toolstation, the Western League tie. That's between Tavistock and Shepton Mallet. Mallet couple of tough results and an away trip to take on Tavistock, who have already shown FA competitions are definitely for them. So a tough one for Mallet, but I've liked what I've seen from them. I'm not going to say it's just a blip, but I'm confident now, capable of coming back and finding a bit of form, and maybe that starts away at Tavistock on Saturday afternoon.
As if those two sides don't play each other enough.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they've got to play each other again twice more in the league. Anyway, fantastic stuff.
Yeah, they know each other well.
They certainly do. I think a little bit too well. I think both managers would have appreciated a different draw in that competition. But anyway, it will be an absolute humdinger, that's for sure. I'm going to go for a taste of the continent. Not really, it's the FA Vars. But Newport, the Isle of Wight, on the Isle of Wight, they entertain our very own Bridgewater Town. Of course, Bridgie going really, really well. So I'd really like, and please forgive me, any Bridgewater Town fans listening to this, but I've really got them penciled in as favourites there. It's going to be a hell of a trip to get from Bridgewater down to the Isle of Wight, and it involves a boat. So it feels like, it could be a European adventure for Bridgewater.
Cross-Atlantic trip, yeah.
It could be. I mean, frankly, after the 31st of October, who knows? Maybe Bridgewater would need a passport to get back onto the mainland. Will we get a backstop for the Isle of Wight? Who could say? Anyway, let's not go down that road, Tom.
Not. No.
No, that will get us into all sorts of trouble. Moving swiftly on to the Premier Division. Of course, we do wish all of our sides in FA Vars action the very, very best of luck, and we're bringing you the best of those results on next week's podcast. But moving into the Premier Division, we've still got plenty of Premier Division action. And which game has tickled your fancy on Saturday, Tom?
Yeah, so I think there's 5 Premier Division matches on Saturday. I've gone for Clevedon versus Hallen. Both suffered pretty heavy defeats recently. So, they want to rebound, and no better chance than Saturday and non-league day. So hopefully, big crowd, as you say. Hopefully three-figure crowd get down there. And Clevedon, Hallen, I'm looking forward to seeing how that one plays out.
Well, I've gone for 2 of the characters of our league. We've got Wellington against Odd Down. That's Clive Jones against Lee Rendell. I'm sure that will be a highly competitive fixture. Both sides have been in and out form, I think it would be fair to say, this season. So it'd be interesting to see who is triumphant in that particular fixture. And in the First Division, Tom, which game has caught your eye there?
The one I plucked for was Calne versus Wales, both towards the summit of the table. And I think that was probably just the one that jumped out most. And looking forward to seeing how that one plays out. And but there is plenty of First Division action. Not many in FA Vars in the Vars this weekend. So plenty of games to choose from. But I plumped for Calne versus Wales.
And I'm going to rather selfishly go for the game that I will be at. Now, Some people looking at the fixture list might think that is Devizes Town against Bishop Sutton. It won't be. I will be at Southfields Recreation Ground when Radstock Town take on Cheddar. Now, of course, one of the great things about both of these clubs, it's proving increasingly likely to say, is that we never quite know which version is going to turn up. They're both gloriously, consistently inconsistent. I mean, more so possibly for Radstock, but certainly both sides up at the top of the table. It's a Somerset derby. Both of these teams aren't separated by a great deal of geography, and I think there'll be a good crowd there. Hopefully for non-league day, there'll be a fantastic crowd there, but also it'll be a competitive game, and it will maybe, just maybe, it will tell us something about the First Division title race. But that's the game I'm going to be at. That's excellent stuff. Now we have one more duty to do, Tom. We won't be doing the goal scorers this week because we did them last week. Mm-hmm. We'll have a quick look at the league tables.
Sure.
And if I dare say so myself, it does look like the top 3 in the Premier Division are starting to pull away. We are seeing a little bit of daylight between 3rd and 4th.
Potentially, yeah. So the top 3, I think they probably are your big 3. Plymouth Parkway, early season. Definitely had a good run. They've played 9 and they've got 22 points. You've got Bradford a point back. They've played 8 and they're on 21. And then Bridgewater, 9 games played. They're on 20. And then little gap of 4 points to Westbury and Clevedon, and a couple of other big sides such as Bitton, Exmouth, and the like that are among the chasing pack on 15. So maybe a little breakaway, but I think that can come back. They can definitely come back to the pack with a couple of weeks further action.
Yeah, a little bit more closely bunched at the bottom of the table. Wellington on 6 points, as are Roman Glass. But Roman Glass, well, that's a bit of a statement win they had over Shepton Mallet, so perhaps we can expect better things of them to come. Only a point above them, chipping Sodbury Town. Again, they had a good win at the weekend, so perhaps their woes are behind them. Not, of course, helped by the lateral movement that wasn't at the end of last season. I know that affected their playing squad and management, so that was an issue. Bridport, of course, they're in 18th. They're on 7 points as well. They've changed their manager. So we're certainly seeing some clubs ringing the changes at the bottom of the division, and Keynsham Town down there in 17th as well. They've played 8. Most of the sides around them have played 10. And we've heard some good things about Keynsham and the way that they've started life in the Premier Division. So I don't believe that there'll be any pushovers. Now then, things are much more closely bunched at the top of the First Division, Tom. I don't even where to begin with this one.
No, I'm not sure. Every team suffered a loss. The last couple of years we've had a couple of sort of runaway sides. Maybe not quite this early, but by sort of Christmas you've had sort of your Keynshams and your Cheddars and what have you, and Hengrove, I think, the season before. But this year it is ridiculously tight, isn't it? You've got Carn currently leading the way. They've played 9. They've got 17 points. Wincanton also on 17, but they've only played 8. You've then got a couple of teams on 16 points, which is Wales and Oldland, and they've played 8 and 10 respectively. And then, 3 more teams on 15 in Cheddar, Ashton and Sherborne. So all those teams within 2 points of each other at the top of the table, and that's the top 7. And then you've got a little, the smallest of gaps to the next couple of sides. I mean, the fluctuation in this league, the teams are moving around ridiculous. As I say, it's pretty ridiculous. Filling in the table every week, it's amazing how much change there is, and that looks like it might continue for a little while. There's quite a lot of parity, I would say, in the First Division, and it's going to be a fascinating next few months.
Oh, absolutely. When I was at Devizes on Tuesday, when we were 2-0 up, I was about to sing we're going to win the league. And frankly, had we got a few more points, we would certainly be a lot higher up the table. But anyway, that aside, Bristol Telephones, of course, couldn't go above Bishop Sutton if results go for them at the weekend. We've got Welton Rovers down there. We know that they're capable of getting a result on their day. Very, very bunched at the bottom of the table, which we'd expect at this early time of the season. I don't think anybody needs to panic just yet.
Absolutely not.
But certainly everything to play for. Well, that concludes our business for this week. Tom, thank you very much indeed for your time. We've obviously been reviewing your excellent bulletin. Where can the listeners find that?
Yeah, in the usual places on the website. There's a tab along the top, and it's also downloadable on the homepage. So a couple of spots for you to download that, and that's usually out every Sunday lunchtime also.
Excellent stuff. Right then, well, I look forward to catching up with you, Tom, after non-league day on the Tool Station Western League podcast.